so there's kind of just a quick intro into what he does. How many of you have seen his stuff before this class? Okay, I figured a lot of you probably have. So I'll go ahead. I'm going to close a couple tabs out here, hopefully speed up the connection. All right, so they got a chance to see it. Thanks again so much. If you don't mind, go ahead and tell us a little bit about just kind of how you started and what got you into art in the first place.
Yeah, so as you guys see, what I do now is, I call it performance painting, making the art process entertaining and fun to watch. And so each painting takes about, on average, 5 to 6 minutes to do. And I do them everywhere from NBA halftimes to corporate entertainment to opening up for people like, we did everything from a French Montana music video to a Hunter Hayes music video this past year and so on. And so I do about 100 of these shows around the world. But how I started, and the reason why the performance painting came about, because it's really a mixture of passion. So at a young age, obviously I was always into art. I played music growing up, but when I was in middle school, high school, I was into graffiti. And there was actually one night where some friends of mine were out doing some graffiti, and we saw some police lights in the distance, and a foot pursuit happened. And so some friends of mine started running. I made it over this wall. No one got arrested that night, but it just got me thinking that I just wanted to start thinking about my art in a different way. And so shortly after that, I walked into the classroom of a gentleman, Mr. Sullivan. He was my school art teacher, and he knew I was into graffiti, but he saw I have this passion to create, but he said, I don't want to change who you are, I just want to change why and where you do it. And so with that, he said, hey, how about this? The more time you spend in the classroom creating, the less time you spend in the streets painting. And so I started learning about animation in high school, storytelling, how to cut, edit sound, and how to bring these images to life. And again, that was also a combination of passions, which was moving art to music. Unfortunately, I didn't do too well academically in high school. So after, I didn't go to art college, and I was always advanced at art, but I didn't pursue art in the sense of college afterwards. But I did continue it. I also got into dance. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with a group called the Jabberwockies, but I used to dance with them and in that style in their very beginning stages. And so that's where sort of like my movement came from. But I remember it was 2003. I was 20 years old, and my car got repossessed. I lost my job. I was about to be evicted from my apartment, and these things were being taken away from me. And the one thing I realized was that my creativity could not be taken away, but I wasn't using it. And so I went to this local jazz club, which is actually a block away from my studio now in Sacramento, California. And I started doing these paintings. They were about 2 foot by 3 foot in size, and just doing live painting. And so those paintings would take about an hour, and I still felt like there was more to this. I had this, again, passion to create. Eventually, I was at a friend's house, and he had these huge paintings on the wall, and it looked like up close, it kind of looked like a splashed together mess. But when you step back, it was this really distinctive portrait of Jimi Hendrix. And I asked my friend, who's the artist, how do you do it? And so the artist's name was Denny Dentz. And Denny Dentz sort of started this genre of performance painting. And I would consider it a newer genre of art, as you would consider Impressionism, pop art. Performance painting is sort of its own genre. Anyways, I was so inspired by just seeing this because it was a combination of all my life's passions, which was art, music, and dance. I went into my dad's garage because I was living with him at the time. I put up this black paper, and I just started teaching myself how to do this art form. Now, it was very, very rough in its beginning stages. And it required me now to take this action. As much as I love to create and paint, it was this new art form that I had to take action to learn how to do better. And so I committed my time and my life to learning this art form. But eventually, I was taking action. I was performing at local nightclubs, local bars, but eventually I was performing at local corporate events. And so I'm going to get into this later about how I found a pathway to the career. But at some point I started doing, 100 plus shows a year. Again, everywhere from now the White House for President Obama before he left to, I'm trying to think. We did the Olympics in Rio, and every continent we've been to besides Africa, which we're working on that right now. But I started asking myself, these paintings, as soon as I was done, before they were dry, these paintings were selling. And I started thinking about what is the bigger purpose or intent behind me hopping on stage, doing these paintings quickly, captivating an audience, and then after that I walk away. I was thinking, what intent or purpose can we put behind it? So when I was 25, I set a goal to raise $1 million by the time I turned 30 through the sales of my artwork. And that now became this new filter for every decision I made. And as we continued to do these shows, we found opportunities to raise money for nonprofits. So everyone from the Special Olympics to local arts charities, whether it's like women and children's shelters, really any organization that was empowering people. And we were doing this all over the world. Eventually, we met that $1 million goal before I turned 30. And then we've since raised over $4 million, and I'm 5 now. But so even on the outside, I had this passion to create. I was taking this action. I wanted this new purpose and intent behind it. And on the outside, things looked as if they were successful, per se. But with any path or career, you have to keep challenging yourself to grow, to stay interested in it, to want to show up every day. So I had an opportunity to show okay.
I think you're good now. You're good.
So in 2013, I got approached to audition for American Got Talent. And I said, cool, I would love to do the show. I just need 6 minutes to do it every painting. And they're like, you get 90 seconds, like everyone else. So even though a 5-minute painting was fast, I had to now go into this very uncomfortable and new space to do what I do in 6 minutes in 90 seconds. So with that, I brought on these dancers, and we sort of cracked the code. And it took me months to figure this out. It took about, 3 months being in the studio, and I could have looked at it like failing, but I was learning every time what not to do. But it was like an orchestrated chaos. And if you guys ever watch those videos, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I had to grow not only as an artist, but as a leader. Things that as an artist, I never expected I would have to do, which is lead a team, which is to, cast vision for what we're going to do and sort of like think, a year ahead. So we did the show, and it was quite the journey. We did a normal 6-foot canvas in 90 seconds to a 16-foot tall Statue of Liberty in 90 seconds. And then eventually in the finals, I came in 4th place. We lost to a dog act, which I'm cool with that. I'm not bitter about it because where we were able to bring art to the masses, again, that goes back to the purpose and intent behind it. And this new situation helps us bring art to the masses. So again, I was on this journey, but there was this other part of it I want to share with you guys. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to go visit Cuba. And as you guys know, Cuba has historically been sort of cut out from the world economically. They are ruled by a communist government. They don't have a lot to work with. So when I went there, they asked me to perform, and I said, cool, just go get these materials at your local store. And they're like, yeah, we don't have local stores to get art materials. And so it got me thinking, how can we provide these materials for these artists in Cuba? So I went back less than a year later. We brought back this these cases full of supplies and a ton of canvas, because I wanted to provide the tools, the inspiration for creators, and it eventually inspired something that I've been doing this month. I'm actually sharing this with you guys publicly for the first time. I'm not sharing it until March 15th, but on March 15th, I'm announcing my new nonprofit called Creator X. And we want to multiply the creators in this world by giving them tools and the inspiration. Part of that is also like this, with your art teacher, is even supporting the educators and their role in providing these type of opportunities for U.S. students. But we also want to make sure that they have the supplies that they need. And this summer, we're going to do this sort of elite skills art camp here in Sacramento. We're going to start it here, and hopefully at some point, the ultimate goal is to create a school or a makerspace that students from all over the world can come and get supported and do that. So to kind of wrap up this journey, and we'll get to the questions in a little bit, but as artists, as young creators, I want you to use what I use, which was paint in your journey, which is passion. You start with what you love. You have to take action. You have to seek some sort of form of education or to grow. You have to put some sort of intent behind it, something bigger than you that helps filter your decisions. New and uncomfortable situations help you grow. And then now, at some point, you become the teacher, leader. And to me, these principles of paint, passion, action, intent, new and teach are how you're going to continue to grow and ultimately your either art career or using creativity in whatever you do. And I also don't want you to limit what you're learning in this class to just art. There's so much problem solving that comes with creativity. I've had to apply that to my career when it comes to now a 15-year career and throwing paint on stage. How do we continue into the next 15? And, I want you to start thinking about, yes, being a creator, but also being a leader. So anyways, that's sort of like my path in the Cliff Notes. There's a lot more to it, obviously, and I would love to answer your questions. But I'm here and available for those questions. So
awesome, thank you. Well, what I think we should do now, let's go ahead kind of in your group, since you guys didn't have a lot of time to prepare. What you do is come up with a few questions just as a group, and then I'm going to start calling people up. So we'll give them a couple minutes just to come up with some questions. So how about pick maybe 4 people around you or so, and I want you to start talking. Let's come up with 4 questions for each group. You can write them down. Ready, set, go. There's paper in the middle of the table.
What? Tell them I'll sharing this on my Instagram story.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
They can check this out later.
Great, yeah. Hey, he's going to share his Instagram story too, so if you guys get a chance, follow David Garibaldi and you'll be on it. So